Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Estela's breakfast seminars. My name is Sarin Tonti from Content Angels, and I'm very pleased to be with you today. If we haven't met, I'm a communication and marketing expert, and I work with companies to support them to strengthen visibility, positioning, and enhancing their communication opportunities. The breakfast seminar is a format created and promoted by Estela Superyacht Agency. And as many as you know, Estela is a shipping agency founded in 1850 and today is a leading company providing full assistance and services to vessels across many countries. The idea behind the breakfast seminars is quite easy to create a space to meet, to connect, to stay all together, and to engage in conversations around topics relevant for the yachting industry. Before we move forward, I would like to thank Astilleros de Mallorca, the fifth year, for hosting us and all the sponsors who made this three-day format possible. Starting from our partner sponsors, Multiplex, specializing in premium carbon boarding systems and bespoke yacht access solutions, and Lanzarote Superyacht Destination, offering year-round superyacht services and facilities in Canary Islands. And then we would like to thank our gold sponsors, Alcaidesa Marina, Antigua Superyacht Marina, AYSS, the Association of Yacht Support Services, Coral Marine, Orbit and Shelby, Seven Stars Yacht Transport, and Thermopetrol Versilia. And our silver sponsors, Argentario Yacht Services, Blue Water Books and Charts, we apologize, Trisonia, Question Yates Mediterranean, Marina Cala del Forte, Medair, Molvel, Ocean Globe Marine Consultancy, Pantenius, Chubbyfield, and Vulcan Española. The breakfast seminars are also supported by a collaboration with the PYA, the Professional Yachting Association, and Italian Yacht Masters. And then, last but not least, a sincere thank you to our technical partners, ALO, OmniAccess Super Sailing, and R9 Audiovisuales, and to the media partners, the Islander Magazine. Okay. So I was saying that I was thanking the media partners. So the Islander Magazine, Multimedia, Super Yacht Service Guide, Yachting Pages, and Azimuth Yachting Info. A big thank you to all of you for your support. And now, to officially open this first day, I would like to invite on stage one of our partner sponsors from Lanzarote Superyacht Destination to share a bit more about their activity. Who is this?
Thank you.
The presentation. It's a PowerPoint. Sorry? It's a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh. Okay, well, this is unrehearsed, so let me introduce Lanzarote, not only Lanzarote, but the Canary Islands as a superior destination because it's growing year after year in services and possibilities of attendance to super yachts in all of the lengths. Would you mind to if any of you have been cruising sometimes through the islands, this is not only about their landscapes and the nice weather all year round, it's also about these increasing facilities to support all the needs of super yachts coming to Puerto Calera, Marina Lanzarote, also in Gran Canaria, Tenerife, before they're crossing the Atlantic. So not only to the services and the landscape around, you can also enjoy sports, hiking, kite surfing. This is also providing the opportunity to hold super yachts, cruise and charter companies in the Balearic Islands to extend the charter season in the Canaries.
That really makes a difference. Would you hesitate to do so? Just imagine what it would be like if you had a reliable and highly flexible partner for this. Someone who knows from years of experience that ideal results really can be achieved. A partner who is always there for you and who is dedicated to helping to shape a more efficient, sustainable, and aesthetically pleasing world. Ask yourself what choice you would make. We know one thing for sure. Life is better on your yacht with Multiplex Solutions.
Just to finalize this presentation, I think that this is not only about what can be offered, but particularly for companies settled in Palma and Mallorca. As you know, this is a quite important niche of business in the industry. The Canary Islands are also maybe like 30 years ago, Palma was on its time. But this is providing opportunities and lots of connections between companies and also assistance between companies to keep giving and providing services to the super yachts in the Canary Islands. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. So if we can start with the seminar. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So now we go on with the seminar, isn't it? Okay. Perfect. Here I am again. I would like to thank Estela for giving me the opportunity to collaborate with them in this new edition of the breakfast seminars. For one of you that's the first time here, the seminars are designed as spaces for dialogue, exchange, and forward-thinking conversation around the maritime topics. Today's topic conversation is rethinking superyacht risk in an unpredictable era. A relevant issue that I'm sure it will be just starting point for the further discussion. With the contribution of leading speakers and the guidance of an outstanding moderator, we'll explore a key question. How is the concept of risk evolving in the modern superyacht industry? Before leaving you to the discussion, let me take a moment on behalf of Estela and myself to thank our guests joining us today and to invite them on stage. So please, Captain Ricardo Del Prete from Motoryacht Luria, Jiménez Schwarze, Director at Panteneus, Spain, Ernesto Esposito, Head of Technical Sales at OmniAccess, Amanda Hewson Beaver, Registered Nurse and Medical Educator at Medea, welcome, and Gianfranco Meggiorin, Founder and Operational Coordinator at Navimeteo, who will be joining us through a video contribution because unfortunately he can't be with us today in person. And moderating today's seminar, we are very pleased to have with us Christophe Bouillon, CEO of the Professional Yachting Association, also known as PYA. And Christophe brings over 30 years of experience in senior management, public affairs, and crisis communication, working with international organizations such as Wind Europe, the World Nuclear Association, the European Biofuels Association, and the World Federation of Science Journalists. He was also an accredited expert to the United Nations and took part in the negotiations of the UN Convention on Climate Change for more than 15 years. So, thank you all for being here. Thank you to our partner sponsors, Multiplex, Lanzarote Superyacht Destination, and to Astilleros de Mallorca, the Fithyard, for hosting us. And thank you to our speakers for sharing their time and insights. I now leave the floor to Christophe. Enjoy the conversation.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I'm going to have to mitigate this one. Yeah, I'm old. And I did work in the nuclear industry and the oil and gas as well. And I used to be a pilot, so I think risk has been part of my life for quite some time. So safety is easy and simple, isn't it? Well, if you have nothing else to do. So we've got 90 minutes, and I think we will probably divide the 90 minutes in two parts. First of all, we're going to identify and discuss the risks in yacht operation, and more importantly, then we will discuss how to mitigate the risks. I did indeed work in some industries where risks are a day-to-day thing. Yesterday, I was at a conference on survival and safety at sea, and my God, you know, we kept identifying new risks, and this industry, and yachting in particular, is quite interesting from this point of view. Sarah mentioned that the Estela breakfast seminar, and again, thank you, Gianfranco and Estela, for organizing always these fantastic places for dialogue and exchange. And this is what we're going to have today. We've got a panel of really expert speakers, but there is a lot of expertise in the room as well. So we will welcome audience participations with questions, comments, and also, importantly, real-life stories. And indeed, when asking a question or making a comment, please state your name and your affiliation, so that for those of us who don't know you, we know you. A couple of things. Don't forget to turn your phone back on after the session, and I'm going to be the first one to do it because I wouldn't want this damn thing to start ringing. And again, let's start with having a show of hands in the audience. Who is a yacht crew here? Captains, for instance. Any captains here in the room? Yeah, we've got a few captains. Thank you, Nigel. It's nice to see you. Any engineers in the room? Oh, perfect. That's going to be interesting. Anyone from yacht management? Training? Anyone from training? Joey Mean is not here, so we will be able to speak. Service providers. We have shipyards. Well, we've got the whole family here. That's brilliant. So before we move to the first thing, I would like maybe start asking the audience, and I think Sarah, you have a roving microphone, maybe, or maybe for that we don't need it. If anyone in the audience could maybe mention or list some of the risks that we are faced with in our industry. Who's the first one to start? And I'm not looking at you, Nigel. Okay. Well, build, for instance, the way some boats are built.
Don't be shy.
Anything that has to do with weather, of course. There are no risks. Come on, Nigel, shoot.
I think that risk is interconnected over the entire ecosystem, specifically talking about the operation of a superyacht. It's not limited only to the assets and the operation itself, but including all of the stakeholders that involved in supporting that vessel. So risk can be included in frameworks such as regulatory risk. So in terms of ISM, ISPS, MLC, and how these different frameworks are being applied on board. Risk can come in terms of forward looking, in terms of what environmental or climate related risks are we addressing incredibly. Okay, so looking at MARPOL, looking at what's happening in with the IMO, and also in terms of in EU, in the regulatory risk there that could be applied to the operation of the yacht. I'm referring to the European Union emissions trading system, for example. So these risks can be regulatory, can be financial, can be climate, weather risk. I think also worth touching on is the crew and the kind of ecosystem that surrounds crew in terms of regulatory framework. You have the Maritime Labour Convention. I think that's a very interesting first slide, by the way, because there is the application of MLC on board, but there is a huge gap between private and charter and the application. When we have calm seas and everything, we're sailing, everything's fine weather and good conditions, and the vessels adopt and apply MLC to their liking. But the huge gap that exists is that MLC is only applicable to commercially registered vessels, vessels engaged in trade.
We may discuss that. Yeah.
All right. So when we're talking about the entire fleet between 24 plus, I think that there is 25% of the fleet that are commercially registered, leaving 75% exposed. Now that's 75% when you look at the total crew complement globally, amounts to tens of thousands of seafarers who are not protected. Okay. Then when we look at the 50 plus size category, you then have a 60-40 split, 40% commercial, 60% private. Again, translating into 10,000 or so plus crew members who, again, are exposed. So the MLC can be adopted when you want. Okay, you can, in terms of contracts, hours of rest, and things like that. But when there is an accident, injury, illness on board, then when the vessels are privately registered,
those regulatory legal mechanisms are not actually enforceable.
Yeah, okay. So we will be discussing on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You know, Nigel just in fact summarized the whole conference. No, it's very true. I mean, you touched on very, very important points. And in fact, I've put up those, 3 slides just as a fact or thought-provoking. I mean, the first one is there are more and more boats, vessels, yachts being built. There are more than 14,000 super yachts with the number of crew that goes with it. We hear that there are between 80,000 to 120,000 professional yacht crew. If we could move to the second slide, which we can't see very well, but it doesn't matter, I will tell you what it is. I went to a conference in London on maritime risk organized by the Nautical Institute, and that one is all about GPS spoofing and GPS jamming. It's happening more and more, of course, in the Strait of Hormuz, but I don't think any of our yachts are going to go there. But there are other areas, the Baltic Seas, near Singapore and all that. And if we could move to the second, the other slide. I'm not a techie, can't read that either very well, but I thought that GPS jamming would impair either the direction or the position of the boat. But this is a list of all the systems on a yacht that are affected by GPS jamming. And I was flabbergasted to see this number, a system, basically anything that is running or with a clock can be affected. So I think hopefully somebody in the audience or on the floor will be able to tell us a bit more about that. So that is it for me. Now, we're going to start with the first speaker. The first speaker is remotely connected with us. In fact, he sent us a video which I'm French, so sometimes, and it's too early, so sometimes I have problems, which we will show you in a second. And it's from Gianfranco from Navi Meteo, who will show us a 5-minute video about weather, and then we will discuss it afterwards.
My name is Gianfranco Meggioni. I'm the coordinator of Navi Meteo, a private meteorological center operational 24/7 in the Mediterranean and across the ocean. We are based in Chiavari, just 3 nautical miles from Portofino. I'm sorry not to be with you today, but we are in a busy operational period. In meteorology, today, everything is much more accessible. What was available only to professional meteorologists is now available to everyone. Think of satellites, radar, buoys, weather station, and weather models that you can easily consult on the web. But even today, statistics indicate that 30% of accidents at sea are influenced by marine weather conditions. One reason is linked to climate change, which we can observe especially in the Mediterranean, but also in the ocean. The reason is the increase in energy, which we can also see through the rise in sea surface temperature reaching often 30 degrees. You can see here the sea surface temperature anomalies. More energy means more intense and violent phenomena. All of you have observed the increasing frequency of thunderstorms capable of producing extremely violent gusts. Today, this is the major criticism. In this situation, gusts can reach and sometimes exceed 70 knots. Is an incredible wave force. This phenomena occur especially during the warm summer season, which should be the most favorable period for yachting. The months of greatest and increasing concern run from July to October, when intrusion of cold air associated with instability lines or cold front produce the most intense thunderstorm activity. And Mistral, Scirocco, or Ponente gale is usually well forecasted, and we have time to take shelter. But these thunderstorms are the major unknown. As we say, technology has evolved, but at the same time, weather at sea has become more complex. Today, weather is based on forecasting, on what we should expect in the coming days, together with nowcasting, meaning very short-term forecasting, sometimes just a few hours or less. Coastal weather, for maneuver, anchoring, and tender operation become a moment that require greater attention. Storm cells and supercells can develop even under apparently manageable conditions. Even a safe and calm anchorage has to consider a phase of navigation. It is a change that sometimes requires the decision to set sail and move even a few miles away from a dangerous coast. These are critical decisions based on the capability to react promptly. At times, open sea is actually the safest area, but I understand that sailing nowhere is not an easy decision on board, especially in the dark and with the guest on board. Today, we have technical tools to reduce the risk of being surprised, but they are a little used if not accompanied by careful observation on board. I would like to leave you with a few recommendations. Never neglect consultation of institutional sources, such as GMDSS material system for your area. The Mediterranean is the material tree. These text forecasts are very simple, but tell us whether there is a weather warning or bad weather expected in the next few hours. Finally, knowledge and experience is a true weather asset for safety at sea. Marine weather has to be understood offshore, but the big challenge is to understand coastal weather. We have, as mariners, to observe the horizon and at the same time understand the big picture, the synoptic situation. Do not overestimate the accuracy of weather models on websites. They are colorful, detailed, and of varying resolution, but they are still only indications. Consider them tools while being aware that not all meteorological answers are into your computer. All barometers still remain a very important instrument on board. Thank you for dedicating your attention to the topic of marine safety, a field in which I have always been deeply involved and in which, despite my age, I never stop learning. Kind regards and fair wind.
Thank you, Gianfranco. Do we have a connection with Gianfranco? Is he on the phone? No, we don't. So no, that was a very interesting presentation. Are there any comments or from the room or experience related to weather, the impact of climate change, some of the things we've seen so far? From the room, from a captain, maybe your view of weather-induced risks and issues lately.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I am Riccardo Del Prete, Superyacht captain, a member of Italian Yacht Master Association. I'm glad to be here to share my experience with you. And yes, by the way, there are very nice Navimeteo company who helps the captain job to just make a safer trip and good itinerary to comply also with guest expectation during charters that sometimes are very challenging and it's very important nowadays because the weather is becoming more unpredictable. So it's always good from my side, from my experience, to have a confrontation with some of these companies that they're every time, all the time, always are checking weather, and because for us, you can understand the job of the captain. You cannot stay on 24 hours looking for a weather condition or weather evolving or storm approaching and stuff. So it's very nice and helpful to have this kind of helps.
Good. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Any comment from the room on that? Yes? Please state your name and affiliation.
My name's Yusuf, captain on a yacht actually based out in Asia at the moment. So I've been in a few.
Yeah. Technological risk. Try this one.
Tiene que haber una conexión.
Yeah, so I've been involved in a few weather incidents over the years, but definitely the technology has moved on with forecasting. There's lots of sites now that are available. Starlink has changed the industry a hell of a lot because there's a lot of weather sites that give you reactive radar weather as along with forecasting. So I think there's a gap now in understanding and teaching of being able to observe those radars a lot more than what we're just going on general forecast, because the general forecast gives you will tell you whether there's going to be a thunderstorm. There are sites that are all open source, free to get, that will show you exactly how long, where that thunderstorm or rapidly developing thunderstorm is, the size of it, whether it's been decaying, whether it's growing, and it can be monitored a lot more closely. I think there's just not that change on a smaller base, especially. They don't always have the opportunity to go to the bigger companies or navigation and weather routing companies. But I think, from the captain's point of view, we do have the tools nowadays. It's just being, somewhere where we can promote those free sites and everything else that add up to being able, especially with the rapidly developing thunderstorms, which is usually the worst thing, because they bring the wind and they bring the lightning. And I've worked on carbon sailing boats, I've worked on power boats, and being struck by lightning.
Thank you for that. Has anyone got any experience with sailing in the polar regions? Because, it's becoming quite fashionable now. The routes are being opened, and maybe we have somebody here who can say a few words on that. Please state your name and affiliation.
Thanks, Christoph. I'm Andy. I work as Chief Officer or Captain, depending on the size of yachts. I have done 3 high latitude seasons. Southern Ocean, Antarctica, Arctic, Northwest Passage. I'd just like to add that despite all my kind of extreme miles, the wildest weather I've ever encountered has been in the Med. It's been within the usual guest operation months. 3 times I've seen over 80 knots in July, August, and September. And what I took home from this video here was really interesting. Yes, we have a lot of development in technology. Yes, we have better weather forecasting. But what was emphasized in this video was the importance of onboard observations using a very old tool, the barometer, for hundreds of years, and also the importance of using Inmarsat-C, which I believe we've had for at least 50 years. And the big difference with Inmarsat-C is this is not a weather model, it's got interpretation from a weather specialist. And I think if we remember, the basics, instead of just all the finesse, modern finesse, it can go a long way to really help you.
Thank you for that. And you've mentioned the importance of observation and human factors. I mean, as we probably discovered when we discuss risk mitigation, the human is at the heart of everything, basically. Emma, could we have maybe the view of the underwriter or the insurance on weather-related risk? I mean, Gianfranco said that 30% of the incidents are affected by weather. Is there anything you would like to say on that?
Yeah, hello, my name is Emma Schwarzer. I'm the Managing Director of Continuous here in Palma de Mallorca. And yes, of course, weather-related claims accompany us all over the year. We have had a lot of cumulative claims in the past. I think here in the Med, the last one was the one in the Med, no, in the Balearic area was the one in Formentera, where more little boats were damaged, but we also had one volley yacht who got quite seriously damaged. And it's really about listening to the weather forecast, not on a long term, but also on a short term notice. And weather-related claims are a daily business for us, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it's not always human failure. And some storms are just unpredictable, and this is changing a lot in the last years. The same happens to the lightnings. Before, Continuous didn't apply any deductible if you